In this tutorial, you'll learn how to start a new case with a client intake form, invite your client to complete it through SuperDocs.com, and import their answers into SuperDocs.com so the information can be used to populate court forms. To begin, select Cases from the top navigation bar, then click New Case in the upper right corner. Enter a name for the case and click Save. The Add Forms screen will appear. Click in the Jurisdictions field and select Client Intake Forms. The available intake forms will be displayed below. SuperDocs.com includes dozens of intake forms designed for different types of cases. Select the form that best matches your client's matter. If there isn't a specific form you need, you can use the general-purpose client intake form at the top of the list. If you're not sure whether a particular intake form is appropriate, click the preview icon at the far right to review the form before adding it. Once you've selected the intake form you want to use, click Add Selected to Case in the upper right corner, then choose Fill Out Forms to continue to the document screen. If you haven't added any court forms to the case yet, the Intake Forms tab will be displayed automatically. Otherwise, select the Intake Forms tab. Find the intake form you just added. At the far right of the row, click the Share icon to open the Share Case screen. From here, the process is slightly different depending on whether this is a new client or someone you've worked with before. If the case is for a previous client who already exists in SuperDocs, use the Grant Access section to search for them by name. Then, under SuperDocs Access, select Intake. This gives the client access to the intake forms for this case and moves their name into the access list at the top of the screen. If this is a new client, click Add Contact in the upper right corner. Enter the client's full legal name and email address. It's a good idea to enter their name as accurately as possible, since it will be pre-filled on the intake form and can later be used to populate fields on court forms. The client can update their name while completing the intake form, and you can also make changes later if needed. Under Client Access, select Intake, then click Save. The client will now appear in the access list for the case, and an invite button will appear in the SuperDocs status column. Click Invite to open the invitation dialog. You can choose how you'd like to send the invitation. Click Copy Text to copy the invitation so you can send it to your client from your own email account. Or click Send from SuperDocs to send the email shown in the preview directly to your client from notifications at SuperDocs.com. The invitation gives your client access to SuperDocs.com, where they can securely complete the intake form online. Please see the SuperDocs.com tutorial for more information about how clients use the SuperDocs portal. While you're waiting for your client to complete the intake form, now is a good time to check your profile and choose who should fill the attorney role by default. This setting is covered in more detail in the Getting Started and Setting Up Your Firm tutorial. Once your client completes the intake form, the case owner, the person who created the case in SuperDocs, will receive an email letting them know the form is complete. Back on the document screen, the intake form will also display Completed by Client in the status column. Open the intake form to review your client's answers. If your client is having trouble completing the form, you can also help enter information for them directly in SuperDocs and mark an incomplete form as completed yourself. If you need additional information from your client, clicking Need More Info allows you to add questions or comments to the form and send it back to them so they can provide the missing details. Once the intake form is complete, click Import to Case and confirm that the information is ready to import. You'll then be asked to select whether your client is the filing or requesting party, the responding or defending party, or other or TBD. This helps SuperDocs assign the client and opposing party to the correct roles so their information populates court forms appropriately. You can change these roles later if needed. The intake information will then be added to the case and can begin populating applicable court forms. As you begin filling out a blank court form, SuperDocs will use the imported intake information to populate fields as they become applicable. As you make selections on the form, information already associated with the case, from the intake form or from information entered elsewhere, can automatically fill in related fields and selections. As you add new information, SuperDocs saves it to the case so it can be reused automatically on other forms. If you've already started filling out a court form, simply click the Update Data icon. This refreshes the form with the latest information associated with the case, including the answers imported from your client's intake form. By starting a case with an intake form, you can collect information directly from your client and then reuse that information throughout the case, without requiring your staff to re-enter it into SuperDocs. And that's how you use intake forms with SuperDocs.com. You can add an intake form, collect information from your client, import the data to your case, and watch it auto-populate the fields on your court forms with ease. SuperDocs.com, making legal paperwork a breeze.